Hello and welcome to a brand new YouTube channel. I am Michael, the host of the Tin Dog podcast, usually. This is Zero Distraction, all about the Zerowriter. Let me explain what this channel is actually all about. For years I've been writing, doing a variety of different stuff. Scripts, stage plays, a few books, stuff for kids, stuff for adults, sci-fi. You can find all of these on Amazon. And I've been using a variety of different stuff. Now, I started so long ago. The reason that this exists, this channel, is for two reasons. One, it's to discuss my writing, because some of the feedback I've had over the years from the ordinary podcast, where I review a lot of TV, was that he keeps talking about his own writing. So let's keep it separate. The real reason that this exists is because of this new piece of kit. This is a Zerowriter. Now, I'm not sponsored in any way whatsoever, so it's going to be an honest YouTube channel all about this and my time spent writing on this. Yes, I've been using things like Microsoft Word. I've got a history of writing going back a very long way. Things like an Amstrad PCW9512. Now, there'll be some people out there who have no idea what that is, but basically it was a dedicated word processor. I wanted something portable, something a little bit sci-fi. So then I bought pieces of kit like the Amstrad NC100, which at the time was brilliant, quite expensive, but quite brilliant. It was about the size of an A4 piece of paper. It had a screen, you could use it as an organizer, you could print from it, which was very exciting. And I believe I sent my very first short story out on that, which was kind of cool. However, time moved on. That was about 1990 that I got that. There was the NC200, which I believe Tandy released as a Dreamwriter in the Americas, with which had a white flip-up screen and had a state-of-the-art 3.5-inch drive for remembering all of your files. I had both of those things. And, as time goes by, you start using other pieces of kit. I have a Lenovo tiny laptop, which is very good, but takes a while to switch on and then load. And you know what? If you're pushed for time and you can't just write, then it just gets on your nerves a bit. So what I thought was, what can I get? So I looked at what was available on the market. Things like the Dreamwriter, the Traveller, the Freewrite, all of those things, lovely. Now, what they use primarily is a combination of either an LCD screen, which is nice, not great for the eyes, or they use a screen which is called an e-ink screen, which is usually flat, often matte, and more importantly, uses e-ink technology, which reduces eye strain massively, which is great. Those things are massively expensive. Some people in the States were using a small tiny machine called a Neo. Now, we never had those, the Alpha Smarts and things like that. We never had those in the UK. So, having a chat with my friend Steve, who doesn't even live in the same country, and he was asking how our writing was going, and it had kind of stalled quite badly, things like real life, jobs, stuff like that getting in the way. And I was working on other scripts for other people, which didn't really go anywhere. And I wanted to go back to some of my proper work in progress. And this is when Steve sent me the link for this. Now, Steve is my writing hero. He went on to become a massive multinational best-selling person. He works in role-playing games. He works as a novelist. He's got a brilliant pseudonym as a thriller writer, all of that business. I wouldn't tell him how good he is because that would mess with his ego. However, what I need to say is he sent me the link to this project because originally the Zerowriter was a do-it-yourself piece of kit. It was something where you would buy all the parts, assemble them yourself, do a 3D print of a case, and you know where this is going. That just sounded a tiny bit impractical. It would be a life sponge. It would require a lot of learning about how operating systems worked, about installing stuff, and all of that it would work. But unlike things like the Bring Your Own Keyboard, or whatever it's called these days, which only came out this week as well, this project was going to save all of your writing on one micro SD card. There was no need to sign up to any third-party saving thing on a cloud. You didn't have to pay every month or anything like that. You wrote it, it was yours, it was there, and it saved as a text file, which meant it was tiny. The text file could then be imported into Word or any of your word processing things, and that would allow that this was just a machine for getting the things out of your head and onto the screen. And then, because of this link that Steve sent me, I had a good look, and they were producing something called the Zerowriter. The Zerowriter was the same piece of kit, but in a solid slab form that did look a lot like the basic model of the Traveller. I'm sure I got that wrong, but you know what I mean. But this case, it wouldn't cost you the earth. As an early adopter, it was going to cost about 150 quid, which, you know, I must say, I don't want to admit this, but I'm pretty sure I've paid more than that for a pen. Let's not tell anyone, shall we? So, it was announced. This was about 2 years ago. And I paid, and I waited, and we were promised February 2025. It's now January 2026, and it's finally arrived. Now, because we're early adopters, there's been all sorts of stuff getting in the way. The software's being improved, the kit's been improved, and it really has, genuinely. You have to remember, this is not a word processor. This is a word runner. This is for something for getting the ideas out of your head and onto a chip so that they exist. This is a drafting machine. So you have to think of it in terms of being a piece of kit. So let me just talk you through this. What you get is a fully functional, quite nice keyboard. You get a screen and you get an SD card. There are feet on the bottom that you put on yourself, and that is it. This is just for writing. Now, scale-wise, this is the size of an A4 piece of paper, so it's the same size as my original writing machine from all those years ago. So I'm going to do a series of things on this channel where I'll talk you through how to do a certain number of things. Also remember that if you were an early adopter, you'll need to upgrade the operating system once using a quite tricky system, or at least it looks tricky on paper, but trust me, it's really not that hard. Once you've done that, you'll then be able to upgrade the operating system, basically using the SD card. You pop it out and put it in. This SD card that came with it is 256 meg. Yeah, you heard that right. Not gig, meg. And if you can fill this with your text files, you'll have written more than, well, you can shake a stick at. Trust me, this is going to be an absolute game changer. It's affordable, it's secure, and it's yours. This is the Zerowriter, and this is going to be me writing on it on this channel, and giving you a few hints and tips and a few updates if there's anything new. So, until next time, it's me and this little thing. Be seeing you.